So what's happening, y'all? I figured I would do a quick video about what happened in the past 9 months or so. Now, initially, I wasn't going to do this video, but there's a lot of people who are probably confused as to what the hell is going on. And even I'm one of them, so I know some of y'all are like, what the hell? So, what happened was, now I just got up, so I know I don't look like shit, so just bear with me. What allergies are acting up too, so you gotta bear with that too. What happened was, so I started out this year in the hospital, in and out of the hospital, mostly in the hospital. In fact, we'll go back a year. A year ago, I was with my ex. Speaking of a year ago, let's go back some years. So August 15th, 2015. See, I forgot because normally I do a video about this day every year, but with all the craziness going on, I didn't get the chance to do it. August 15th, 2015 marks the day that I was burned up. It didn't hit me until last night that August 15th passed 5 days ago. For me, that's my birthday because the reality is I wasn't supposed to live through that. Not even hardly. I wasn't supposed to live through that at all. A lot of things happened since then. And I'm still not sure how or why I'm here. But I don't question it. I'm just still here. Anyway, so spent 2 months in the hospital after that. No, it was longer than that. August 15th to November 13th, I was in the hospital. And I was miserable for a long time after that. Box truck blew up on me. Long story short, the box truck blew up on me. I had third-degree burns on 70% of my body. And you can't tell, but my face was completely burned up. Well, you can tell if you know what you're looking at. So, yeah, that happened. And I don't know. Anyway, that's where the mark on my arm comes from. Like, that's the only visible mark that y'all will see other than, like, the one on my foot. But y'all probably will never see that either. I don't wear shorts. So, anyway, let's fast forward to last year. So last year at this time, I was in Indiana being miserable because of all the craziness that was going on. And me and my ex split up about this time last year. Actually, it was the beginning of September. And the first thing I did after we split up was go get me a van. That was the Redskins van that I got. And I had to try to rebuild my life because it had been sabotaged by my ex. Not that she knew that that's what she was doing. It's not her fault that she was doing it. She's not, how can I put this? She's not a bad person by any means. Not intentionally a bad person. It probably was very unintentional. And I don't have nothing bad to say about the girl. I mean, she just, I guess, different strokes for different folks. What works for her doesn't work for me, and vice versa. And I can't say that. It kind of worked for her. Kind of, but then like I said, it didn't fly for me very well. I mean, I was just, well, she was my ex, so at the time I was just kind of going along. But anyway, that's all aside the point. Uh, it was sabotage because I let it happen. Uh, when I do what works for other people and not what works for me, I end up the one screwed. We'll get to that in a second. So, I ended up with the Redskins van. I never had the chance to enjoy it because 90% of the time, hold on, 90, I'm trying to hold the phone with one hand. 90% of the time I was in the hospital. And I barely remember that part of my life because at one point I was in the hospital and I had like a whole breakdown episode. And I haven't been able to remember nothing before that since. So all I remember is being in the hospital most of the time from September all the way until, I don't know, March. um, I remember after February, maybe, or late January, but I don't remember anything before that. Um, so, with that being said, I couldn't tell you what all happened for sure. I do remember getting the Redskins van, and I do remember getting a lot of people asking me questions about the van, but I don't remember much more than that. And so that happened. Uh, and I hit rock bottom sometime around then. And I said that this year I would find me something nice. That's what I said to myself. I was determined to get back on my feet this year. And I did. And I did a damn good job of it too. It took me a while and it took a lot of help from y'all. But I did it. And um given I never really get the chance to thank y'all for helping me out. So, and I'm not really good with words, but I appreciate everything that anybody does for me because nobody's ever done anything for me before. So I really don't know how to react to it. But don't think that it goes unnoticed. There's a lot of times that I don't have the opportunity to say thank you to people. So this is my thank you. Thank you. And that I can't say enough, but that's a start, I guess. Anyway, uh, so through the year, I struggled to try to stay afloat most of the time with things going bad and breaking down in the cold and all of that. I struggled, but I made it, and I made it work. And eventually things took off for me where I didn't have to struggle so bad. And I ended up eventually, okay, let's fast forward a little bit. So I ended up with the blue truck and the truck camper. And as y'all know, the day that I got the blue truck and the truck camper, the blue truck broke down when I picked the truck camper up. And that became my home. And that became my way of living. It was in the truck camper. Um, that truck camper was everything to me. And I, right when I was there, right when I was comfortable, when I finally figured it all out, so to speak, and got everything the way that I needed it to get, the perfect storm rolled into my picture. The perfect storm. But see, what happened also was the truck had went down, the blue truck. And see, I was going to use the blue truck because it was four-wheel drive. And four-wheel drive with that truck camper, I could get anywhere. Anywhere. I could go anywhere. I could go places in that truck that I ain't been, I couldn't get to on a go-kart. I mean, there's things and places that I went in that truck that people on a six-wheeled boat thing, that it's a six-wheeled Argo, I think it's called, man, they couldn't get to. Um, I've driven that truck through 2 or 3 feet of water. I I drove that truck all over the place, and it just never quit. And eventually, third gear went out, and just a bunch of stuff happened to it, and so I had to put the truck camper on the red truck. Now, the red truck, I bought the red truck for $600, and it was a running little truck. I mean, it would run all day long. I put the truck camper on it, and it was only a 150, but it still did the job. Yeah, that's probably where I should have stayed. And then I saw the road truck. I should have stuck with the red truck and the truck camper. Now, the road truck was a good idea at the moment. And in reality, it wasn't a bad move. I just wish I would have stuck with the truck and the truck camper. It was home. And the minute I got the road truck, I had to sell the truck and the truck camper to pay for the road truck. Long story, but yeah. So I did what I did, thinking that I would be all right in the long run. And the minute I got comfortable, I got happy about it. That's when somebody decided, well, see, so let's go back before I get into that. So basically, we're about to be interrupted. Just give me a second.
The truck is down the street.
Yeah, I'm on making the video. So in case y'all are wondering about my mother's, we're probably going to be interrupted again. Trying to make this all in one video, but it doesn't always work like that. Just making sure we're not going to be interrupted. So, anyway, what was I saying? So, yeah. Initially, I talked to somebody that they needed some help getting one of their cars running. So I figured, well, I got the right machine to ride, so I might as well go out there and help them fix it. And that was my intent, was just to run out there and help them fix that right quick. Turn around, come back. And yeah. In the process of that, I run out there to do that. I did what I could, was going to have to turn around and come back at some point. And in the process of doing that, I ended up losing the road truck. So the way that I lost the road truck was I was coming around the mountain, coming up through Wheeling, West Virginia, on the way back from Chicago. And a guy decided to come around me and get in front of me and jam on brakes. Now, I could have ran into him. I should have ran into him. I should have killed him. But I didn't. And I ended up running off the road and hitting those two concrete barriers. Not the big ones, the little small ones. I hit two of them. I went through them. And um, I broke the frame in two places. I broke the pitman arm off of the frame, and it was almost impossible to drive it because only one wheel would turn, the other wheel was stuck straight. So I got it towed to the Walmart. It cost me $80 to get it towed 7 miles to the Walmart. And what I should have did, what should have happened next, is where I went wrong. Now, for me, what I would have normally done was just got mad, called it a loss. I called the insurance company. The insurance company said since I didn't hit the other car and kill the other person, that there's nothing they can do for me. And even if there was something they could do for me, the accident would still be my fault, which is bullshit. And so I ended up losing my van. It wouldn't have mattered if I had full coverage or liability. None of that matters. None of that matters. Because it still would have been my fault. See, and I can't afford that rate jack up that they would have done. No, I couldn't afford that. I just had to chalk it up as a loss. In the process of losing my van, I should have just lost the van and left it there and just tried to figure out a way to get back in this direction. Instead, not only did I get a way back in this direction, but someone encouraged me to do things their way, which never works for me. As I said earlier, when I do things other people's way, I'm the one that ends up getting screwed. And this ain't no different, unfortunately. So, okay. So, I went and we came back. And then I put it up for sale, thinking I could get something for it. But on Facebook Marketplace, there's so many bullshitters. You can't get nothing done because everybody's just a bunch of picture takers. They ask for pictures of this and pictures of that and pictures of the roof and pictures of the underneath and pictures of the front and the back and the inside and in between. For what? They ain't coming to get it. If they asking for pictures and they just bullshitting around. So I get this one fool that says, "Oh yeah, man, I'll buy it. I'll come right out there and get it." And I'm telling him that the frame is broken in two places. It says that the frame is broken in the ad, but he's looking at the pictures and he's not paying that any mind. He's not paying anything I'm telling him any attention because after all, I'm not supposed to know nothing. I told him I don't want to drive all the way out to West Virginia for nothing because I really ain't got it to do that right now. I'm not driving my shit. And he said, "Oh yeah, it's fine. You want to come out here for nothing? I'll buy." So we get about 3/4 of the way out there, and then this fool said, "Oh man, I don't want it. You didn't say the frame was broken in two places." When I clearly said before I left, I don't want to go all the way out here for nothing. The frame is broken in two goddamn places. So we went all the way out there for nothing. We turned around, tried to come back, and then the rear went in her truck. And before she left to come get me, I told her, "Don't come get me because my luck will rub off on you. And even if you do come get me, probably not a good idea." Because she came all the way from Illinois to come get me. That's where I went to fix the truck or whatever. And so she come to get me. And all the way from there, went back out to West Virginia, and then on the way back to DC to rear wind in her truck. That was a whole ordeal. So then I had to call my buddy out of Pittsburgh, who probably could have came to get me anyway, and he had to run us back to DC. And God bless him, because man, if it wasn't for him, I don't. He knows who he is. But so he run us back to DC. In which case, I rented the Penske truck, which they took $400 off of my shit, off my card, which I really didn't, because I was going to use that to get something going. They took $400 off my card, and it was only supposed to be $150 with unlimited miles, but somehow or another, I got the shaft on it. But I don't complain. I didn't even say nothing to her about it. I didn't say nothing to nobody. Ain't even no point. So we drove the Penske truck back out there, tried to put the van on it, and the van fit on the trailer. We got the van on the trailer. We tried to take it to Chicago the next day, which was another bad idea, which I knew was a bad idea. I knew that one, but I don't know, somehow she got it in my head that this was a good idea to go get the van and try to save it, which I was down, because what I got to lose? A lot. And so we did that, and it didn't work, and I ended up scrapping my van. And I only got like a few bucks for it. It wasn't much. And it wasn't worth it. It really wasn't worth it. It really just wasn't worth it. I should have just left it where it was, and I wouldn't be in this situation now. Because then I would have had the money to get something going, to fix it, to sell it, to get something else going, to fix it, to sell it, to get back where I was. Whereas to now, I'm not even able to do that. Why is the dog barking? Why is it that every time? Oh, well. So now y'all gonna have to deal with the dog barking for a minute. So that didn't work. So we put her truck on the dolly and took all the way out to Chicago for no reason. That burned a shitload of gas that we didn't have to burn, which I was trying to explain to her then, that we could have left the truck where it was, come back to pick it up after we went to Chicago and come back. But there's no point in trying to explain my logic when I'm trying to do something, because nobody's going to listen. Because my logic doesn't work for them, even though it's going to save a few dollars in the long run. But I've learned that it's hard to explain my logic, even though it works a lot better because I've been in this life a lot longer. And I'm not saying it's my way or the highway, but my way is normally better. But I'm always willing to listen to a better idea. There's no question. And if it's that good, and so be it, man. I'm on it. I hate being the smartest person in the room. But most of the time, that's the case. So we did that. And we went out there, and we come back. We left the truck at the rental place. We dropped her truck off over here. And I bought a Z24 Cavalier on the way back. Now, this Cavalier, it ran its ass off. It ran great. But, and there was no intent for the car to break down or anything. I was going to use that car to go get the rear for her truck to save a couple dollars is what I was trying to do. Otherwise, we probably would have paid another $400 for that truck. And I just don't have it. I didn't have it. There was no money for me to have it because that's all I had in the beginning. That's it. So I took what was left and tried to buy the Cavalier, which is a whole nother story. It wasn't working initially. I was having problems getting money out the bank. I was trying to hold on. Things just don't make no sense. So anyway, I was trying to save a few dollars. Is what I was trying to do. Trying to kill a few birds with one stone. Trying to save a few dollars. Trying to have some transportation. Trying to get a rear for her truck. Without spending a ton of money. So I went to go buy that Cavalier, and I couldn't pull the money out of the bank for the Cavalier, which to me, for me, is a sign that not to get it. That's my sign not to get it. And right when I was ready to just throw in the towel, which I think I probably had at the time, that's when she decides to go ahead and get the Cavalier because she pulled the money out of her account because I couldn't get it out of mine. And that was cool. And get me wrong, I appreciated it and all. But it just wasn't meant to happen. I don't think. I'm not sure. I doubt it because if it was meant for me to have, then I would have it. In the process of that, because right when, like I said, I was about to give up and just keep on rolling. In the process of that, I ended up with it and tried to drive it back and hold on. In the process of that, I tried to drive it back and I only made it 3/4 of the way back before it broke down. That was not in the plans for it to break down. Now, me thinking, okay, well, it felt like a fuel issue, and it did. It felt like a fuel issue. I didn't think nothing much of it. I thought, okay, and so it needs a fuel pump. It's been sitting, makes sense. So, I tried to put a fuel pump in it, and this is going to be a really long video. So I tried to put a fuel pump in it. Oh, by the way, we had to put it on the car dollar to get it back here at 5 in the morning. So I tried to put a fuel pump in it. That didn't work. I tried to put a crank sensor in it. That didn't work. Now, that was a suggestion from somebody else who works on those cars. That's what made sense to us. Fuel pump, crank sensor, something like that. Well, it's probably the ignition control module. It's really not a lot. It could be because those cars are fairly simple. I never got that far to test that because by that point I was out of money and I was out of time. And so I ended up losing that car. And I lost the car because I had to put a rear on her truck. Now you're probably like, well, how did you lose the car if you had to put a rear on the truck? Well, basically, it was one of them things where I was going to have a hard time doing it. Mainly because I would have to do it on a weekend where I wasn't feeling sick. And last weekend I was sick. And all this week I've been sick because of dialysis. So I'm guessing I'll probably be sick when I head to dialysis today in a little bit. So I traded the car to get a rear put on her truck. That's what I did. So she could make it home. So she would have transportation because, see, she still has a roof over her head and she still has wheels. Whereas I don't have shit because I did it somebody else's way and not my own. Yeah, I'm at my mother's house right now, but this ain't my house. There's a lot to be said about that, but I won't go into that. When I had the road track, it was home. And I had a home and I had somewhere to be and I had a way to get where I needed to go. And if I needed to go to the hospital, I could go to the hospital. If I needed to go to dialysis, I could go to dialysis. I could go pick up my prescriptions. I haven't picked up none of my prescriptions, not able to. I haven't. Well, I'm getting to dialysis, but it's almost by force. And being a diabetic and living this life will make you a criminal. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, to be quite honest with you. I found my old van, one of my old vans from a long time ago. I would call that a stroke of luck. My problem is I'm not able to get it. Now, I ain't asking for no handouts. I'm not e-begging or anything like that. Um, but I've been trying to figure out a way for the past 3 or 4 days to get it. And things ain't looking too good. Nothing's really looking that great, honestly, but things ain't looking too good. I need that van back. And I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I really don't. I tried to do the Howard thing. That was suggested to me in the comments. They don't help people with things like that. So that's out. I don't understand. But well, hey, it is what it is. They don't help people with things like that. And so I don't know. Initially I should have never got the road track. That's where I screwed up. The second place I screwed up is going to Chicago. I should have never went to Chicago. The third place I screwed up was